One quad win.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So what do you think about the bracket?
I thought it was great. I mean, I don't think there's any surprises that pop up in these brackets. I mean, you kind of put two and two together, and you start to realize that there's only so many teams that they can put in certain places, and then after you see one bracket, start the process of elimination. By the time we got to our bracket, we kind of knew the whole bracket by then. I mean, so as I told everybody up there, there's no easy brackets. There's no one bracket that's harder than the others. There's no easy matchups. There's no somebody's got a tough road, somebody's got an easy road. It's just you go where you play. You go where they tell you, and you play who they tell you. It's been like that from day one.
Some roads are longer than others, so you get another cross-country trip.
Well, yeah, that's 3 in a row. 2 of those, I mean, we're 1-on-1 out there, right? For those purposes, and I think the travel is going to be challenging. Let's hope we have the challenge of if we win, it's the longest trip back to Tampa of anyone else. You couldn't be further away, right? So let's hope we have that opportunity. Be a small price to pay.
The NCAA is going to still keep with that 2-site regional, I think, through at least 2028. Just what are your thoughts on now that it's the third straight year going out west?
I don't mind going out west if there's also an option for people to go to see a game. So if you live anywhere from New York to St. Louis, how do you get to a game? I don't understand it, So I've never been a big fan of just two places. And but what's this, 25? And 3 more years of this?
At least.
At least. Well, like I said, you got to do what they tell you to do.
What's your early report on Arkansas State?
They're in Arkansas.
State of Arkansas.
The state of Arkansas. That's the challenge of the teams you play in the NCAA Tournament. A lot of teams you've played against already. A lot of teams you have a lot of film on already. But, you get teams that are really good, that win their league, and they're really talented, and, and what time is it? It's 9 o'clock on Sunday night. By 9 o'clock Monday morning, we'll know a lot about Arkansas State.
A lot of times you get teams you've seen before over and over again. 3 teams that are coming here, I'm sure you've never seen. Is it that exciting? What was the feeling when you're playing teams that you don't typically run into?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. Everybody just assumes sometimes that you are going to repeat teams because it's happened so many times, but maybe that's a byproduct of only 2 regionals or something. I don't know. And so distance of travel isn't as much of an issue. It's always good to see teams that don't know you and you don't know them. But when the game starts, you still have to play. You still have to be better than them. A lot of times it's just the kind of matchup that you're getting, What kind of team, what's their style of play, blah, 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 blah.
Speaking of familiarity, if chalk holds, it would be a USC rematch with you all. Is that a matchup that you were hoping not to maybe have in an Elite Eight scenario, or what do you think of that potential rematch?
Well, I just think that there's a lot of different ways that you can go with that. You can say, I wish we didn't have USC out there in the way to possibly go into the Final Four. I wish we would somebody easy like South Carolina. Really? Or I wish we could play UCLA instead. Or we should play Texas instead. Like, no matter who you end up playing, it's going to be a pain in the ass. That's all there is to it. You just hope to be in that game. But, you know, if you play a good enough schedule, you're always going to run into somebody that you've already seen. And if you're in the NCAA tournament enough times, you're going to get a repeat offender. So, yeah, I'm sure they're loving the chance of a rematch, but it's a long way down the road. It's a long way down the road.
Geno, as far as where your team is now, a lot of teams at this time of year talk about maybe flipping the switch and doing something to get going. It looks like you want to keep your switch right on where it is.
It's been the age-old question when you finish playing in the tournament, in your conference tournament, and you're playing really well. At least you think you're playing really well. You love nothing better than to go home on Monday night, take Tuesday off, and go play somebody on Saturday, and just keep it rolling and stay with the same routine that you've had. Unfortunately, it's the only time of the year where you get 13 days off or whatever it is, almost 2 full weeks where you don't play. So it's not ideal. You know, for anybody whose tournament finished last weekend, none of this is ideal. You know, players have no interest in practicing at this time of the year. Yes, for the NCAA tournament, it's a little bit different, but players just want to play games. And, you know, the trick is how do we keep everybody engaged during all this, you know, downtime before we play.
But
So
it
there's
helps
no flipping switch, you know. There's no flipping a switch. I think you want to. Now, if you're playing lousy and you got to flip a switch, then it might be beneficial. Or if we got an injury or two that you're trying to rehab, and that's beneficial. So that's it. That's what you got.
But it helps Aubrey. What's her
Right.
status? Is she
Yeah.
full go? Is she limited?
We'll see. Right now, we're waiting to get her back full in practice.
Is that more just rest still and soreness?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're trying to get back into practice full after you've not practiced for 6, 7, 8 days, or whatever, it takes time. So we're hoping that, you know, tomorrow she can do more than today, and then the next day she can do more than that, and go from there.
Gene, is there something you see about this group that gives you as good a chance as you've had in the last few years to you know, make a run and grab another one of those? I know they're not easy to come by these days.
Yeah. It's been the last 4 years, you know, the 3 Final Fours that we've been to the last 4 years, we're all like with a big asterisk, you know? Like, yeah, we're in the Final Four, but, you know, we don't have that guy, whatever the case may be. So what's different is we do have a lot of people available. We do have more options than we've had of any other team that's gone there the last 3-4 years. So that's a source of comfort to a certain degree, you know. Let's hope we can take advantage of it.
They talk about your team, and you mentioned the last time you won a national championship. Like there's some major thing wrong. It's been so many years
Yeah.
since you've been there.
I know.
When's the last time you got into a tournament where that wasn't an issue? Where people were,
Oh, it's always going to be an issue. Now it's, you know, the UConn watch, you know, how many years has it been? That's what happens when you win it too many times in too short a time. You set those expectations, and you almost become as big a story as the team who wins, you know. For a couple of years there, the headline was UConn lost, and by the way, so-and-so won the national championship. And that's okay, because you created that, you know. You didn't have to win all those, and you didn't have to win that many in that span of time. I just hope the players, you know, take it as a compliment. You know, there's no other way to take it, really. I mean, that's, you know, that's a testament to what we built.
I feel like Tiger Woods.
You know, it's funny you say that because, yeah, I'm a lot older than he is, and he's in not great shape, and but we're in pretty decent shape, and so hopefully, you know, unfortunately, he doesn't get a chance to play much, but at least we get a chance to play.
If you could improve one aspect of your team's play entering the NCAA, what would it be?
Always in the NCAA tournament, you have to rebound better than you do during the regular season, because any extra possessions you give a really, really good team is eventually going to send you home. You have to be able to get stops at crucial times, and it usually comes down to your guards. You know, your guards have got to be able to help you get stops. And then lastly, like you can't work on, well, we got to make more shots. I mean, but you can work on things you can control. Like, we got to be better defensively. We got to rebound better. Okay? And we got to make sure that we don't put people in our guys in foul trouble and their guys on the free throw line. If we can do those three things, then the rest, you got to just cross your fingers and hope that, you know, the ball goes in.
Are turnovers a concern?
No. I mean, I think we're number one in the country in assist to turnover ratio. So turnovers are not an issue until they are. So you hope that it stays where, you know, the percentages, you play the percentages, and so far we've been pretty good. And I mean, heck, we come down the floor and we only pass it once. How the hell are we going to turn it over? You know, guys are so anxious to shoot it. What the hell? It's not a bad thing.
So what does it say about the Big East that the Ivy League got 3 and the Big East only got 2?
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a big problem, and that's a problem that has to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed ASAP. And you know, I think teams like UConn, Creighton, you know, we for the last couple of years, you know, it was only 3 years ago that we got 5 in? Or was it last year? No, it couldn't have been last year. Was it last year? It was 2 years ago. I think it was, maybe. Okay? But I know since we've been back, we have 5 in, which was great. So we go from 5 to 2. That's not good. So when we go to the Big East meetings, some of these things are going to have to be addressed. And they're not just, I think, women's basketball issues. I think those are big picture issues that involve the whole league.
An example? Like, do you have an example?
Well, I don't think our guys are happy with how it's turned out. You know, you look at some of these other teams, some of these other leagues. Maybe we don't get the respect we deserve. I don't know. You know, once again, if you can go 4-12 in your league, and you can still make the NCAA tournament and get an 8 seed, then what's that say about? Does it matter what you're doing in the regular season? When I just play nobody in the non-conference, you know, if it's, you know, if it's that, if you're gonna do that, you know. So yeah, it's I think it's a big picture. It's a big picture fix, and I don't think we're the only league struggling with that either. We're not, and I'm sure there's another league not far from us that's struggling even more than we are.
Well, Carly pointed out yesterday, talking about the Ivy League, and she pushed for Quinnipiac. and noted that Quinnipiac beat 2 of those 3 Ivy League teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some things when the tournament comes out are hard to explain, right? Some things are hard to explain. But yeah, no, we got to be better. That's all there is to it. Our league has to be better. It has to be better. There's no other option. We have to be better. And at the same time, you know, it's just because we make it look real easy in our league. Did you see all the scores of Creighton's games? They didn't exactly come out and blow everybody out. They didn't exactly walk into a building and walk out. They're a really good team, and they were in a lot of games where it could have gone either way. So if you take us out, it's a very, very, very balanced league, I think. Very competitive league. I just think we have to do a better job of setting ourselves up for the NCAA tournament. Whatever that is, we have to identify it. Whatever that thing is that we're not doing as a league, that we need to be doing.
Coach, how do you get Sarah Strong prepared for this part of the season as a freshman?
Well, you know, it's not like I could go in and put her on the stove and prepare, you know, put the right ingredients in there and mix and match. You know, I don't have to do anything with Sarah. You know, since the day Sarah walked on campus, I don't do anything with Sarah. I just go, we have practice today. All right, Coach. We got a game on Tuesday. All right, Coach. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Do you feel like Paige feels any kind of pressure to try to get a championship? She's, you know, she had to do so much, you know, coming in here, you know, navigating new territory in college athletics, and for her to leave here, you know, not everyone gets to leave with a national championship.
No,
but
they don't.
You know, do you think she feels any pressure to deliver one?
I don't think to deliver one. Maybe, you know, every kid that goes to college that has the ability to, let's put it that way, the ability to at least entertain that idea. Like, I want to win a national championship. Some kids go to college and they go, I hope I'm on the national championship team. Meaning, I hope I'm on a team with a bunch of guys that are really good that can help me win a national championship. Okay? And then there's kids that go to college that they have the kind of talent, confidence, and the ability to, because this is the question that you have to ask yourself all the time as a player. You look at a player and you go, can you see that player being the starting point guard on a national championship team? If the answer is yes, then that kid's trying her ass off to win one. For who? For herself. And for our team, obviously. So, does she feel pressure? I don't think any more than I think normal. But I'm sure we all do. You know, you play at Connecticut, there's pressure on you all the time to win a national championship, because that's what this program is built on. And there's no getting around that. But I don't think it's all on one person.
Do you have to do anything to kind of help them manage that at this time of year, especially when you have a group that's sort of so young and so old at the same time?
I know. Well, of the old guys, only Paige has played a lot. So we have an old team. We have a bunch of old guys. Only Paige has played a lot. And then we have a bunch of young guys that have played a lot, the sophomores, and the freshmen that hardly have played at all. So it's a weird mix, and it's a weird combination. And you know, we do spend time at this time of the year mostly coaching the mental part of it, because I mean, you are what you are, right? After all this time, we've been playing for 5 months. Not going to be able to all of a sudden in a week and a half all of a sudden become something that you're not. You know, you just got to mentally be on top of it. And if you are, then you have a chance. If you're not, then you're out. You know, people probably remember the game we played in Seattle when we lost to Ohio State. We go, well, Paige didn't play. That had nothing to do with it. That had nothing to do with it. Zero to do with it. That game was lost before we even got on the plane to go out there. You know, because mentally, maybe it got to the point where, like, I'm not sure we can do this by ourselves. So, at this time of the year, you know, you're going to probably shoot your shooting percentage, and you're probably going to play the same number of minutes you play pretty much the rest of the time. And mentally, you better be on it. You better be right there. And this is honest God truth, and this is true for any player in the country that is the player on their team that's being looked at by everyone as this kid has to play great in order for us to win a national championship. And that could get 45 and they lose. Paige could get 50 and we lose. I remember in a game against Notre Dame in Denver, Maya got 36, almost 40 points, and we lost. So one kid going out there and playing their brains out and playing like the National Player of the Year, they're not going to win it for you. So there's pressure on a lot of those other guys as much as there is on Paige.
So when you're talking about coaching the mental side at this point of the year, what does that look like? What do you
Get your head out of your ass. You know, the way your parents would coach your mental side, right? Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I'm really struggling with this stuff, and man, grow the fuck up, like one of those. It's more about reminding them of what this really is and what it really means in the big scheme of things. The thing that hurts players the most at this time of the year is they put way, way too much emphasis on the outcome of these games. Like as if the outcome of these games are going to define their lives. And when people talk about the word choke, they put, it's not that, what does that word mean? And if you look at a kid that doesn't play or a team that doesn't play to their potential, generally speaking, it's because something got in the way of what they were trying to do, that they forgot that all the little processes in the game that lead to a win go right out the window. And now every possession down the floor, they think if I make this shot, we're going to win. If I miss this shot, we're going to lose. So it's like they try too hard because they know it means a lot, but they make it life and death. And you as a coach have to constantly remind them that the reason we've had a lot of success here, obviously, we had the best players, but understanding that the minute your thought process is different than it is in any other game, your chances of winning go steadily down. So that's that's what I'm talking about. Let's keep this level, keep it real. We didn't make a single three in the national championship game when Diana and Sue was a senior and Diana was a sophomore. Think about that. We got those two guys on the team. We didn't make 1 3 in 40 minutes, and we won. So shit happens, and you got to be able to overcome it.
Quick update, Manchester 37-35 at halftime.
Jeez. I'm going to owe Reiser dinner. I told him he could eat at my place.
Is there something you look for that kind of tells you they're in the place mentally that you want them to be? Is it just kind of something that throughout the tournament you get a vibe of?
Yeah, I mean, some kids, they can try to hide it and they can't. Other kids, it's like you look right in their eyes and this kid's gone, this kid's not with us. They're doubting, they're questioning, they're too worried about the outcome. Or they are, like you're a tennis player and they're squeezing the racket so hard that the veins are going to burst out of their hands. Like, they want to win so bad that things that were coming easy to them all of a sudden are a little bit of a struggle. Or they all of a sudden become really quiet. So you look for a few telltale signs. At least I do. I mean, I try to study my players all season long so that I can tell we're in a good place, we're in an okay place, we're not in a good place. And then you roll the dice and hope you got it right. Just bet them up, as Corky used to say. Bet them up and sleep in the park.
Are they in a good place?
Are they in a good place? I think so. I think so. Based on what I saw today. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gene, are you getting like some pleasure and joy out of watching the way AZ's playing again? Seems like she's happy and in a good spot herself. And
You can tell AZ's happy? How do you know that?
It appears that way.
How do you know that? Does she blink twice and tell you that? That's AZ's really good at showing very little emotion out there, and but I can tell in what place she is by the way things flow from her, where it's not a struggle and it's not something she's forcing to happen. It's just happening, you know. And she'll go through maybe, you know, in an hour and a half practice now, she may go through 35 minutes of like it just flows, man. Everything that comes out of her hand is just magic, you know. And you try to keep her in that space as much as you can. But again, you know, she's another kid that wants to win really, really, really bad, and like most kids, you know, push themselves really hard. So, you know, some of these kids, you're just trying to ease the air out of the tires, you know. That's basically your full-time job at this time of the year. I don't necessarily worry about the other stuff.
She said a sports psychologist helped her. You don't bring somebody in this time of year just to...
This time of year?
Yeah.
No. This time of the year, I don't even want to talk to them about stuff like that sometimes. You know, I don't want to get that deep, you know. But a lot of these guys, the ones that, you know, can say, hey, I think I could benefit from speaking to someone. But if that hasn't been going on all year long, you're not going to start it now. So, you know, a couple of the players on the team, and it's available to all of them, but a couple of the players on the team, you know, they find it helpful that every once in a while it's somebody outside the program, it's somebody that isn't going to judge them, that's not going to carry it to practice, you know. All of a sudden throw it at them in the middle of practice. No wonder you're screwed up, you know. So it's a source of comfort to some guys, and I like that. But no, anybody walks in this gym this time of the year and got something to say, ain't going to happen.
How much energy do you put into all of it? Like, how much energy do you put into yourself of trying to read moods and?
Well, I think that one of the most important things is you have to monitor yourself. You have to stay in that moment. You have to stay in that zone. You know, like Joe is. You know, you have to stay. You know, because if they see that you are acting out of character. That's why you try to show them as many characters as possible during the season.
Which one is
But yeah, but you have to stay in character. You have to be you. And if they know that you're not, because you're uncertain, you're unsure of, oh man, then believe me, it affects them 100%. And it's different, you know, like, yeah, years ago, there were years when you could just, every day was a challenge. Every day was a challenge. You threw some challenge at them, and not easy ways either, make life miserable for them. And they would fight through it and want to beat you so bad, you know. I just think at this time of the year now, I found that works better.
Geno Shea.
Not exactly one of my strongest points,
Look natural.
but it's there. I mean, you know, I have the ability to go. That's all right. Can I talk to you about this? I would just pat him a little bit harder every once in a while.
Getting gentler over the years, huh?
Yeah. So I just think you have to stay, and that to me is the hardest thing, keeping, you know, especially, I mean, who wants to win more than me? Who wants to win, you know, more than the coaching staff? So it's a delicate thing that we try to manage every year, and most years we've gotten it we've gotten it close to right.
Geno, 4 years in a row for Carlisle in the tournament. Shane, back-to-back years.
Man, oh man. You know, and I don't think either of them do anything that they learned here, which is the best part. I think they've gone off and kind of, I'm sure there's a couple things that they've taken with them, but I just love watching their teams play because you could tell their touch is all over it. It's not like, well, I'm going to go to practice and do what Coach Auriemma did. And I'm really proud of that. That's not what they've done. That's not how they've done it. Because people who try to do it like that, they fail. So they've, put their stamp on their program. I'm just so proud of them, both of them, And, yeah. Although, I'm sure they missed Caitlin, but they were able to still, get to where they needed to go. So that's a sign of of a heck of a program.
So I know you're on stuff to worry about here. Do you monitor like what Carly's done down at Fairfield back?
I keep up with it.
Yeah.
I keep up with it.
What do you think of the job that's
Them
going
and,
on down there?
Well, certainly because Quinnipiac, Trisha's been there longer and done it for a long, long time, and we've played them, here in the tournament. So now you got those two teams now really far from each other, building a great rivalry. I think that's great for, Connecticut basketball. It's, Carly's one of the best young coaches in the country, and I just think that I think we're fortunate in this state to, to have all these teams that are NCAA tournament teams, or should be in the NCAA tournament. Let's put it that way.
Will that ever change? Like, Quinnipiac wins a bunch of games. They don't get in 26 games or whatever it was this year. I mean, will that change?
I don't know. That's a good question. Not if some of those conferences have anything to say about it. They're trying to get rid of teams like that, not add them. Unfortunately.
When you were saying earlier, like, no one wants to win more than the staff, right? You want to win for, like, the players, right?
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I guess with that in mind, like, what would winning this year mean for you all, for this group of players, to be able to deliver that for them?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because in one of our talks yesterday, we talked a lot about, when kids come here on their visits, and they say, look around and say, oh man, I want to come to Connecticut because I want to do that. And so you have to remind them that my job is to give you the opportunity to do that and put you in a position where that can come true. And the ones that understand that most of the heavy lifting is going to be you. You have to do most of the work. I'm here to help you, and our staff is here to help guide you so that when the moment comes and taps you on the shoulder, it's time to win it. You're ready to win it. But you have to put yourself there. I can't put you there. And I think that's a thing that we always talk about. It's our obligation when we recruit players, because that's our job, is to put them, try as hard as we can to put them in that situation. How can we get them to that doorstep, and then the rest is on them. And if you don't have the kind of players that can bust through that doorstep, and knock the door down, it's hard. It's hard. But I said players, you need multiple players to be able to knock it down. So, yeah, I think that's probably the thing that drives all of us now as coaches. I mean, everybody on my staff's won a national championship. So it's not like, oh my God, I've never done this before. I mean, Ben hasn't, you know. But and Morgan and CD and Tanya and JJ, we got tons of championships. So, but I think they know what it felt like, and they want to feel that feeling again for, you know, celebrating with the players. That's the best part. That's the best part. I mean, when you think about it, look at the pictures of some of those national championship games, you know? Like in 95, you see Rebecca Lobo running around the court like she's Jimmy Valvano looking for somebody to hug, you know? Like, that's priceless, right? Yeah. And she wasn't looking for me. You know? Like, it's just like this overwhelming thing that they're able to share together. That's the best. It's the best. It really is. I find myself just standing there in the back and just watching. And going back to 95, there's a picture that we have of Jamel Elliott grabbing Nikisha Sales at the end of the game, and she's got her head in her hands, and she's shaking her head, and she's shaking her head, and we just won the fucking national championship, you know. And you can see the look on their faces. It's just like I've been dreaming about today all my life. I mean, I get chills just thinking about that. So hopefully we can recreate that for these guys at some point.
Thanks.
All right.
Appreciate
That's a
it.
great picture.
Thank you.